all that rigmarole with Jen and her mic this week.
I know.
And then I recorded an entire podcast without my mic plugged in yesterday.
That's fantastic. Like, of course, that's what happened.
God, sorry, my housekeeper came and like everything's not where it should.
I moved it all.
Yeah. Biscuit, you okay? You got your mic on? All right. Biscuit's good. Check.
She's ready.
She is ready. Sarah, thank you for joining. How are you?
Good. It's Friday. Woo.
Whoop, whoop. We got Sarah Barrett here, executive editor, Wine Spirits Daily. So I originally, and we don't normally record on Friday, but I'd originally asked you to just come on real briefly to talk about the Delicato Coppola deal. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But now I really honestly want to talk also about the Missouri lawsuit.
I figured, yeah.
Because I think that's a huge issue. And so real quick on the Delicato deal. And first, let's just clear up why. I think I know the answer to this, but why is the Delicato winery called Delicato Winery when the family that owns it is called Indelicato?
Well, as Jordan joked, it was like a quick way to fix it. He said, "Is like, I don't want to be indelicate. I'll be delicate."
No, I think that I didn't know that Jordan had said that, but I think he's right.
We've joked about that before. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure we're not the first. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess if your name's like, if my name were Harry Poo Poo Maker, I'd probably change the name.
Not want it.
Yeah, my winery would be called Harry, Sunny Maker or something better. Okay. Well, anyway, probably a smart move for Coppola, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on this deal?
I mean, for both, I would think. I mean, Delicato's just kind of been killing it lately. And I mean, Nielsen said that they were like the fastest growing winery in 2020. And I guess their criteria for that was like adding over 1 million cases and growing like 5% faster than the overall category.
And what is their specialty is what, above $15 or
Boda box is the majority of their business. So yes, although the 3-liter box breaks down weird when it comes to price segments because they technically it's premium because it's like what 20-ish or $18 to $20 for a 3-liter though, but you break that down and then it looks cheaper.
Yeah. Right. Break it down to 750s or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen to me trying to talk
that's their
like
biggest one.
I'm trying to talk like I'm an expert in the wine business. Yeah, what 750 quiz is that, Sarah? Right, Biscuit? I mean, that's a lot of juice. You know what I'm saying?
Literally a lot of juice.
Yeah. I like that Coppola. He makes good juice. Huh? Well, he's not
surfboard.
He's certainly not making any movies right now, probably. I tell you on a side note, my favorite director, or one of them in the whole world, is his daughter, Sophia.
Yeah.
I mean, that Lost in Translation, it speaks to me.
You would.
It hits me right here. Because I can relate. I can relate to the character.
Because somebody who looks like Bill Murray got somebody who looks like ScarJo.
No, he didn't get her, first of all. And second of all, no, just a sad old drunk in a bar, just trying to get through the week. Just can't sleep.
I feel you, man.
Yeah, I feel you. The one scene in that movie that's actually happened to me before is when he has those clips on the back of his jacket. You know how they clip your jacket when they're doing photos or videos so that you don't bunch up in front. Then they're, and when they forget to take them off, you're walking around like an idiot with those things on your back.
Clipped backs.
When I saw that scene, I was like, oh my God, I can relate to this movie. The Scarlett Johansson hookup deal, that's when it started being, I was losing my suspension of disbelief.
This is getting unrealistic now.
This is where it lost me.
I was actually just making fun of that for like the new James Bond because it's still Daniel Craig and that's great. Love Daniel Craig as James Bond, right. But the woman he's with is like 20.
Well, no,
Like, you couldn't have found.
and I don't mean to shock you, but he's my age. Like, I think he is like 50.
Yeah,
Daniel
he
Craig.
is.
So
And like, that's not to say he doesn't look good. Yes, he does.
all right, but
But
that'd be like
it's
me
still
in a.
weird. I I was like,
He
no,
does.
why
He
you do
does look
this?
better. He does look out of me, Matthew McConaughey, and Daniel Craig. Who's the best looking? Who's
Matt
out of the three of those
McConaughey.
people? Who signs your paycheck? Hey, okay, Biscuit. Who signs your? Who gives you Scooby snacks every day? Exactly. All right, enough of that nonsense. I want to get to this lawsuit. So explain it to like I'm a 4-year-old. So I mean, this is the reason why this is a big deal is because really we haven't had a direct shipping case go in front of the Supreme Court since Granholm. And
Right.
Granholm really, the only thing Granholm decided is that the 21st Amendment is legitimately legitimate, or whatever they said. It's legitimate. But they also said that the Commerce Clause does have to mitigate the powers of the 21st Amendment. It's not just a free for all. You can do whatever you want.
Right. So actually what happened then, and they interpreted that to only apply to wineries, and that's when retailers were like, excuse me. And actually, I didn't realize this until very recently, that the National Association of Wine Retailers, who have been backing most of this legislation, that's like part of their goal.
Is that Tom Wark?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, and they were founded in 2006, so it was in like direct response to the Granholm decision, like the interpretation of it.
Granholm was 2005. So, and I hope we're not boring our younger readers who have no idea what we're talking about, but just do a Google search. This is a big deal. But yeah, so 2005, kind of mixed result in the Supreme Court, but it did only apply to wineries. Tom Wark and his clientele, who are online retailers, get upset because they're excluded, so they sue. Tom's been a vocal proponent of direct shipping, especially of wine, for years and years.
He does not pull punches when he's
no. No, he called me a tool once and on his blog. And the sad thing is he wasn't wrong. But anyway, yeah. So that's the back story. And so what's happened? They've been kind of unsuccessful for the most part, right?
So it's been a mixed bag. I feel like initially, only after, not much happened between like the 2005, 2006, and it like ramped up again recently, with like the Total Wine in Tennessee. And that really kicked off, like, I don't know how many it was like 6 or 7 filed like immediately after that Supreme Court decision, which struck down Tennessee's residency requirement to obtain a liquor license.
And let's touch on that. So there's a couple of ways you can attack a state law that prohibits an online retailer from shipping into the state. And a big one is if that state has a residency requirement where you have to live there in order to own a liquor store or liquor license.
And live there for like 4 or 5 years.
Right. And so, Texas had a residency law, which I think was struck down. So that's where we have some states where it's struck down and some states where it's upheld.
For the most part, the residency requirements now are getting bowled over. I think because that Tennessee issue was very specific about residency requirements, and what retailers were hoping is that would spur the Supreme Court to also comment on out-of-state retailer shipping in general. But they didn't take the bait, I guess, on that one.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's been, so this is now the second retailer trying to take the direct retailer shipping issue to the Supreme Court. It was Lebemoff Enterprises. They've been pretty active in the retailer shipping lawsuit arena.
Right.
But the Supreme Court denied to hear that case in January. And I believe this Florida retailer that was filed like roughly around the same time as Lebemoff initially was too, that like 2016, 2017.
And what's different about this one? Missouri one? Was that
Oh,
the one?
well,
Then what's changed?
Missouri, they had an interesting like kind of chain of events that led to this lawsuit because it was, state law that was like pretty obviously excluding out-of-state retailers and letting in-state retailers ship. And then they were like, okay, fine. Well, then now nobody can ship. And they were like, okay, great. Well, then we'll drop the lawsuit. Like,
That's leveling down, they call that
mm-hmm.
in the biz.
Which is funny because that seems to be what they have done a few times on the retailer front. But when it came to like producer side, they were like, okay, well, we'll just level up then.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Right.
but
Yeah, you're talking about the states.
mm-hmm. But then, but then the Missouri like Division of Alcohol and Tobacco Control just interpreted a different statute that kind of gave in-state retailers another in to deliver through a common carrier. And so then this Florida-based retailer, Magnum Wine and Tastings, came out and was like, okay, no. Like I just
Right.
filed suit against this exact
So that's
same
what
issue.
that, I mean, that right there is what's changed. That's what's new, I think, is the common carrier part of it. That's the new hook that they're trying to hook. And by the way, I mean, we talked about Tom Wark. There's another character who's been common throughout this entire journey, and that's James Tanford.
Oh
Tanford
yeah.
has been the attorney on the retailer side. I mean, I think he was the Granholm attorney, but I think he's one that's usually behind these retailer lawsuits and winery lawsuits. He's always been he's the big dick lawyer out there on that front. So, well, interesting. We'll see how that plays out. It like I said, more recently, all of this seems to all of this seems to be a lot of about nothing. I mean, that I shouldn't have given out my cell phone number on the podcast. It just rings all day. I have no idea.
I feel like every time you do it, you regret it. This is not the first time.
Orange City, Florida.
Maybe it's Magnum Wine and Tasting.
It might be. Are they listening?
Yeah.
Well, because if a customer, a consumer wants this any kind of brand of something, they can usually just get it through an app, through Drizzly or whatever. I mean, not every brand, but if you can get distribution in the state, then the consumer could get it. Mm-hmm. But that's the whole point, is that you want a system that's accountable instead of having 100 suppliers shipping directly to consumers that nobody's tracking. I mean, there's no way to track that unless you get UPS and FedEx to do it, which they won't. I mean, it's not their legal job to do it. In other words, they're not licensed.
I think that was something that states have been looking into lately as they got cracked down on direct shipments from everybody. Mm-hmm. They've been looking at reporting has been kind of a crux, I suppose, to it. So they're looking at, okay, who can give us all the reports? And I guess technically they're not required to give them, but that's like strongly suggested you hand those reports over or keep track of that. But it was interesting that is something that the Florida retailer brought up, is they're like, people want things delivered online. They expect something different now. And they're saying, Supreme Court, we need you to provide some type of clarification that like lets us toe this line between regulating beverage alcohol, differently, obviously, than any other commodity or products, versus like bringing it into, this century.
Right. Well, I guess if you are a 3-tier advocate, a wholesaler advocate, you would probably just want the Supreme Court to take a pass.
Well, and so that's when Lebamoff filed. There were a few people that they assumed that they wouldn't take it. I mean, they ended up being correct that they didn't take it because they were like, technically, that Total Wine and Tennessee case addressed this issue ish, and
Right.
they're like, they most likely, oh, I forget who it was now, said, they like to let something like that kind of percolate for more than a year or two, and they're like, so let
Yeah.
this decision do something, and then maybe
Right.
we'll revisit the issue between the 21st Amendment and the Commerce Clause.
That's exactly right. Well put. Because there are other lawsuits out there also with
There's
this
like
exact
8.
issue. Yeah, that's like 8. So the Supreme Court has no reason at this point I don't think, I'm no lawyer, but to take the issue when there's more case law out there that needs to be resolved or at least looked at. I think they'd rather have the lower courts resolve a lot of these cases till it funnels up to a big one, defining case before they'll accept it. That's what I'm told. And I don't know if we're there yet, or if they're there yet.
Mm-hmm.
But can't we just all get along, Sarah? you know, I mean, right, Biscuit? She doesn't know. She doesn't get along with anybody. What are you up to this weekend? Anything fun?
I don't think so. I'm hoping to do nothing. Sounds pretty good. This last
Yeah.
weekend, I helped my brother and my parents move, and it was hot as balls outside. And it was
Oh my
all
gosh.
day. I
Why
was
would you
like,
agree to that?
because they're sneaky and they're like, we've helped you move like 2 or 3 times.
See,
Guilt you.
the move there is to say you do it and then just pretend like you're sick or something. That would be my move.
We did like roll in. My mom was like, well, I'll meet her at 8 a.m. And I was like, okay, cool.
8
Uh,
a.m.
and we get there like 9:30-ish with our like coffee in hand, and we just start eating donuts that are there.
Came for
We'll
the
be with you in
food.
a minute.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, that's all I had. Thanks for jumping on this one. Um, Everything else okay? Good week?
It was kind of busy and really big news this
Yeah.
week.
I mean, yeah, lots of news. Good. All right. Well, thanks, Sarah. Have a good weekend. And listen, thank you for drinking wine and spirits. I appreciate you. Ciao,
Bye
as I
bye.
say.